Well, welcome back to GB News Live. Now, the government's had to answer an urgent question in the Commons on the future of Britain's car industry. It's after one of the world's biggest manufacturing groups warned that the current Brexit deal imperilled the UK's car industry, in particular electric car production. Stellantis, the parent group of Vauxhall, saying current arrangements were a threat to the sustainability of its UK operations. That, in detail, is Ellesmere Port, where it manufactures its cars. Well, former Brexit Minister Lord Frost can join us now. Lord Frost, in terms of what we heard in reaction from the government, Business Minister Nusrat Ghani, the government would not be drawn as to whether the government will seek to reopen negotiations with the EU on post-Brexit trade arrangements.
Well, obviously, it would not be sensible to reopen the entire trade agreement. This particular issue was one of the last to be settled in 2020. The car industry was happy with it at the time, but obviously a lot's changed in the energy electric vehicle world since then. Let's see. If the government does decide they want to see if this problem can be fixed, well, it's a good test of whether our new, warmer relationship with the EU can actually deliver anything.
Yeah, it begs the question, though, was that last-minute part of the deal rushed, in that surely someone should have looked forward to what, was going to happen in terms of electric car production? Because we gather Kemi Badenoch is now trying to extend the current deal until 2027. It's not a very good look, is it?
Well, I don't agree, actually. We spent a lot of time working through this issue for most of 2020, and the fact that it settled at the end just means that it was one of the most difficult. As I say, the car industry welcomed this at the time and felt the problem had solved, but a lot has happened in the energy world. Costs have changed massively, so obviously there's a new and slightly different problem. But, we are friends and neighbours with the European Union, and let's see if we can solve this problem together.
Is it then a different story of the government failing to ensure that we've got sufficient domestic production of car batteries, which is part of this problem about I think 45% of the car has to be domestically produced, or at least parts produced in the UK or EU?
Well, values have changed, I think. I haven't seen the full detail of the Vauxhall Stellantis case, but I assume the problem is that relative prices have changed, the costs of certain elements of production have gone up, and that's what's generated the problem. But in general, I'm not in favour of the government directing production or trying to pick winners. I think we need more free marketism in this country, and not sort of supporting products that cannot necessarily pay their way, and we saw that with one of the battery factories earlier this year. We need productive industry, not ones that rely on government support.
Well, are you then signing the death warrant for Britain's car industry in 800,000 jobs, bearing in mind the extra help that the US is giving to its car industry, bearing in mind that Tesla's first European plant is already up and running on the outskirts of Berlin in Germany?
Well, we've got a very big car industry and a very big and productive one. I think if we were going to look at public policy, we might look at the rush to ban internal combustion engines and the insistence on having electric cars. And there perhaps we could learn a little from the European Union, which has decided it doesn't want to rush at this in quite the same way. Maybe we should do the same.
Yeah. So would you share Nigel Farage's assertion that Brexit has failed to live up to its potential because of, quote, useless Tory politicians mismanaging the exit from the EU? Seemingly, this example of the car industry being part of that.
Well, no, Nigel is a hero of the Brexit movement, but I wouldn't agree with him on that. Brexit succeeds because it gives us back democracy and the ability to determine our own affairs. And merely because a particular set of politicians or party, don't deliver everything that's needed straight away, that doesn't mean the project's failed. It means we need to renew our strengths and get things right and move forward, get on with reform, deliver the the expectations that people want us, and that's what I think we still need to do and we still can do.
OK, well, talking about expectations and managing to do things, you are at this conference, which many in the Tory party itself have indicated is a distraction at a time when the government is trying to fight fires on all fronts.
I don't think it's a distraction. I think it's a great event which is allowing us to debate ideas and what conservatism, Toryism, the future of conservatism in this country is all about, and we need to do quite a lot more of that. It's obvious that at the local elections a couple of weeks ago, quite a lot of our supporters sat on their hands and didn't come out and vote for us. That's why we only got 26% of the vote. We need to find policies that appeal to Tory voters, get people out voting, campaigning for us, and this conference can be part of that effort.
And would that include the assertion that legal migration is too high, which is what we heard from Suella Braverman there at that conference, the Home Secretary, whereas the Cabinet, seemingly the government of the day, don't agree with her?
Well, I don't know what has happened in cabinet discussions, but I understand it to be the policy of the Conservative Party and the government that legal migration should fall. That is the policy on which we fought and won an election. I think it still needs to happen. So I do agree with Suella, and I think actually most Conservative voters in the country believe that migration should fall rather than go up very sharply as it has done in the last year or two.
Even when there are many senior ministers saying that actually net migration can help to boost the economy?
Well, bringing an extra worker in obviously increases the size of the economy, but it doesn't necessarily do anything about income per head. The problem this country has is that we haven't invested in skills because we've had basically an indefinite supply of labour from the European Union and now elsewhere. And what we need to do is get people in this country back to work. We need to upskill people. We need to make the country more productive. That is the only way forward that is going to make people actually richer. Anybody can make the economy larger. What you want to do is make it more productive for every person in that economy. And at the moment, we haven't been doing that. We haven't done that since 2008. That's why everybody feels poorer. That's why everyone's grumbling about low incomes, why we have so many strikes. We need to get producing efficiency once again.
OK, and bearing in mind, obviously, what we heard at PMQs today, I think Angela Rayner describing the conference as a Trump tribute act. Those people are suggesting your appearance there is maybe for you to prepare to come back to power in the Commons as an MP. Is that correct?
Well, it's not connected with that. I am on the list of Conservative candidates, as became clear this weekend. I haven't applied to any seat yet, and we'll see where things happen. But it is true that British politics is in the Commons, really, and if you want to be properly in the political debates, you have to be in the Commons. But this conference isn't in any way about me or any single person. It's about debating the ideas that we need to succeed.
And does that, the reason being that you don't think that the Tory party is going to win this next election?
Well, we scored 26% of the vote 2 weeks ago, and parties that score that much of the vote don't win general elections. So we've got to get it up, and I do think that is possible. This election is there to be won, but we have to deliver policies that our supporters want to see, and policies that are going to make a difference for hard-working people in this country. And I hope we will do that in the next year.
Lord Frost, thank you for speaking to us on GB News. A lot of noise is off, I know, there in more ways than one, but hope that you could hear us loud and clear. We could certainly hear you loud and clear. Thanks very much for your time. Lord Frost.